Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, we talk about the updates to the PTS that are currently published, especially the new War Zone. But first, a couple bits of news and a shout out to our guild, Alea Iacta Est, on Jedi Covenant. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 132, who will soon float off in this escape pod and broadcast the show for all of us. What? Where will you end up? Well, let's just say, if there's a bright center to the universe, you'll be the point that it's farthest from. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How is it going?
Hi, Max. Well, let's see. Things are going well. I spent some time on the PTS this week. I did what many people recommended and worked like a champ for me, which was I started up the download of the PTS and then I went to bed. And I had recently added a second SSD to my system, so I have plenty of room for PTS now. So that was good. So I played with the focus thing. We're going to talk about that. Also this week I spent some time crafting and happily organizing. Oh, I found a little supply of mats that I hadn't collapsed yet. And I'm like, click, click, click. That made me happy.
That you got to stack? Nice.
Yeah, I get to stack them up again. We ran our regular ops team, and then I got to also run with the Monday night team, which I also enjoy, what I really enjoy. I get to run my scoundrel those nights. We did this extra scary version of hard mode KP in our regular team because we decided instead of going with 2 tanks, we would go with 1 tank and max in his DPS gear and spec. So that was pretty fun on Jargon Sorno. That was a nice healing challenge, but it was fun. And I also did Conquest on my Scoundrel, which kind of surprised me, but I noticed I was getting close. And so I just did some Nar Shaddaa heroics and killed 250 things on Nar Shaddaa. And I crafted an invasion force, and voila, I was over. Although I would like to say that those things that used to be infinite that aren't infinite anymore, I think it would be okay if they made it so that we could do them on each character. Still just one time, but maybe on each character, because I would have liked, I didn't have time, but I would have liked to maybe get a second character going this week on Conquest, and I could have done it with our second ops, I could have done another invasion force and done another round of heroics, but oh well. I mean, I don't think that would be over the top advantage game breaking if we could do it on multiple characters.
Yeah, once per character. So I don't think they have a mechanism to do that now. They'd have to build something in. Otherwise, because if you just make it repeatable, it's repeatable, and you could do it 1,000,000 times on one character.
Oh, well, I just figured that they have it, once per account, and they could just change that setting from once per account to once per character.
I agree. I would like that. I would.
But anyway, we're going to talk some more about PTS stuff. Sorry, did I cut you off there? Okay. Anyway, that's kind of been my week. How are you doing, Max?
Same sorts of things. I did spend plenty of time on the PTS. We will talk about that in detail. I also did some regular PvP and did a bunch of my conquest that way. I have one more round to do after the podcast tonight to finish off my Sork on PvP, because I did at least 10 rounds, but I did the 10th round, which then gets you like this 6,000 or 9,000 conquest points. I did that one on my Merc, because then I could, between the ops, just one war zone and one war supply, I would be able to hit conquest on that guy. And then because I did a bunch of PvP without that complete 10 big bonus, I'll get it on 2 characters. Anyway, also ran some Galactic Starfighter, and think we're going to be spinning up more of that in the coming weeks. So that was fun to catch back up on and see how it works. I got to learn how to fly a bomber. Sten's got to teach me. And then I did run with in addition to our ops team and our Tuesday night thing, I ran with the Friday night ops team. They got their first.
How'd that go?
Good. So they got their first one in. They're going to continue to run at 8 p.m. Central on Friday nights, Imperial side, and could probably use some more regulars. I'll only be able to do it like every other week. So if anyone else wants to jump in there and grab a DPS spot, that would be cool.
Did you say 7 p.m. Central?
8 p.m. 8 p.m. Central, which is 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Yep.
So a normal type song.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's the time most of our ops groups run for some reason.
Yeah.
but that's cool. That is what I did, and I think there's some news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
The PTS did go live this week, and as part of that, they dropped in what they called scheduled playtests. There is a couple notes in the dev tracker. So this past weekend, they had 2 windows of scheduled playtests for Warzones. What all that actually was they were targeting, they just threw it out there that, hey, guys, come and play during this time. You could play anytime as long as there was enough people on there, and you could start a Warzone. There often was not enough people, especially early in the day. So you did need to wait until later, but after about noon or 1 o'clock each day, it seemed to be able to play pretty consistently. We'll talk about that in more detail and the other things that popped up in the dev tracker around the Warzone.
Also, on the PTS, they introduced a thing called gameplay focus, where you can set your focus to either PvP or PvE, and that determines the instance you end up. So a lot of people speculated that this was was done in preparation for some kind of server collapse onto mega servers, but Eric Musco posted that it's definitely not that. He says that this was not a precursor to collapsing multiple servers together onto mega servers. That one of the things that they don't want to do, that people had pointed out in the thread, was make people choose new names and everything. So he said no, it's not a precursor to that.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah.
I think he's lying.
I think it might be a precursor to something, but technically not that.
Well, I posted back a slightly snarky reply in Twitter that said, well, fine. I mean, what's the intended / unintended consequence then that's going to be making it easier for people to move things around, to move characters around, because now you can go to any server. Maybe we had friends on a PvP server and you're PvE and you didn't want to go there because they were on a PvP server. Okay, fine. So if it's more incentive for people to move, then you're just going to have the servers that are low population just become lower population. It's not like people were, this is going to make people spread out to more servers or make all the servers more populated. So then if you're not going for server merges, what are you doing? You're just going to ruin some servers more than they already are.
They're going for server attrition.
I guess.
Some people are speculating.
And then maybe just shut down that server. But then again, you're going to take whatever remaining population. It's never going to go to 0. You will always have
and then they'll
characters.
have to change their names.
And then you'll have to merge them in. So then it would be a server merge. I think if it's not for that, I don't see why they would have put the effort in. I really doubt there was some big population of people clamoring to be able to move to a server, but I wanted to be on a PvP server but not get flagged PvP, so could you do that for me? What? Nobody was asking for that. So there.
Right. Pretty sure there wasn't a loud vocal audience clamoring to have spaces in their names either.
True. Well, that's something different. Yes, maybe that's maybe that's related though too. If you're going to do a server merge and people are going to be upset about losing their name, give you more opportunities to get the server merge to go more smoothly, then fine. So I mean,
somebody did post that they thought that just the way it came out and sort of it seemed open-ended, like it was for something, but they're just not saying what, and it does have that kind of a feeling.
Right. Yep. So we'll see. He seemed to put it out there that yes, this was not for that, but I don't know if he meant to say it is not directly
what
intended
he said
for that right now. but could be in the future. Okay. They did post a couple other notes about the continuing research into people that might be missing cartel coin grants. We talked about it a little bit last week. It still exists. There's a thread you can post in if you think you should have gotten a cartel coin grant and you didn't see that email come across. It was an email. It was a little bit of a weird email because it was mostly like another one of those advertisement emails. Hey, come play Chapter 10. I think the 2 titles were either a familiar face joins your team, play Chapter 10 now, or Chapter 10 and Firebrand are here. Play now. And then if you looked in the email, even if you like looked at the first 4/5 of the email, it just talks about like
Right.
chapter 10, blah, 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 blah. And then down at the bottom, it's like, oh yeah, and here's a code that you can type in for 1,000 cartel
Yeah, you
coins.
really have to scroll. I mean, it's past beyond what would normally, be contained in a screen full of email,
Right.
or it was for me anyway.
So look in your junk mail, check it out. If you are you sure you should have gotten one and did not and still can't find it, then post in that thread or take it up with customer support. Maybe they can help you.
They did say that they are going to resend to everyone who opted in by February 22nd now, which is an extension, which is nice of them.
Oh, that's nice. What else?
Although I don't know why that, yeah, I don't know why this is all so complicated, because a lot of people were posting that they get their emails every month about their cartel coin grants.
Yeah.
But they didn't get this email.
Hmm.
But hopefully it all works out. Also, PTS character transfers, since strongholds are not available on the PTS right now, which I didn't realize because I went over there. I was gonna like buy a 5th stronghold just for something to do over there, but you can't do any stronghold business over there. So I guess you shouldn't be in a stronghold when you copy, but I'm pretty sure I was. But Max, did you have a problem with that?
Yes, I did. I'm almost positive I had a problem with it, and I didn't get a chance to take my Sork out of my stronghold and try it again. I transferred my Sork over, and it doesn't bring your costume, your costume tabs over.
Right. It didn't. Yeah.
And then it also
it
doesn't bring. It only brought my first bank tab over.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the gear that I wanted to wear because it is better to look good than to play good on the PTS. I had
It was probably in the mail.
it was in like my 5th bank tab, so I couldn't get to it. So I went back and I tried to transfer that character again, and I think I went to my stronghold, and because I was looking in there and looking in those tabs and looking in the bank, transferred it, and then when you transfer it acts like it's logging in. It gets about 9/10 of the way there, and then it goes back to the character select screen. And I transferred
But
a
it
couple
probably
times.
was in the mail
Wait, it probably was what?
because your outfit probably was in the mail. Not that you wanted to go through 100 mails and find it, but that's what they do with all the stuff that doesn't fit in your bank and your inventory because they downsized it. Is it's in mail on the PTS.
Really? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have looked through that, but then so 4 tabs worth of bank stuff ends up in your mail. Well, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, maybe not all of it. Maybe there's a limit. I wouldn't be surprised.
So anyway, I transferred a couple times. It wasn't working, and then I transferred another character, and that character did work. I'm betting that I just was running into this bug, so I'll get him out of my stronghold, transfer him again. I'd still found an outfit that works, though. I just went and bought the Gree gear, which is mostly what he wears. He wears Gree gear and then some skirt because he's a Sork. In guild and community news, I did want to talk about, and I went back and forth and talked to Snave a little bit. I wasn't able to see his most recent stream event for the Ultimate Red Star Championship. This is a premium PvP 1v1 tournament that Snave runs once in a while, and this was the 5th round they did, and I think it was about a week ago. You can see videos of it up on his channel where he streams, which is hitbox.tv/Snave, and you can check it out on his YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/user/Snave1208. He gave me a little bit of a high-level overview that I'll mention here in a second, but I watched the last tournament that they had, and about half of the current tournament in the videos. It is a cool 1v1 tournament. He does a really good job of, this is one of my favorite player run events. He does a really good job of the play-by-play. He and another guy sort of do the play-by-play color commentary over the top. He does it in his Nar Shaddaa stronghold on the landing platform, and they have it set up with a couple a couple decorations that you can hide behind, and they actually do work. And so it's a well-run tournament. It's a well-run. It's a well set up arena. It looks very cool, and it's very cool to watch. And you really see some good PvPers that are going through. I was watching close and getting tips for 1v1 for my Sork. A Sork won
Nice.
the non-stealth division. They do stealth and non-stealth. And then prizes. I didn't realize until I went through again and watched the stream at the beginning. The first place, so they go first through fourth in each of the divisions. First place is 15 million credits plus 2,400 cartel coins plus a super crate plus some sort of peripheral that he calls it a stinky board, keypad, foot pad type of thing. I got to look that up and see what that is. But that's an extreme set of rewards.
Yes, it is.
So that is awesome. Not that I would come anywhere close to even coming in fourth, but it is pretty cool. So this was Snave's summary of it. All in all, it was a decent evening. The duels were somewhat lacking compared to some previous events, but there were some close fights. Previous champion Mosh was knocked out by Arvengus, and Asparagus managed to turn the non-stealth finals around, winning 3-2. I saw Asparagus lose one of his battles, but I didn't see the final one where he won. Slim Shady won what was, for the most part, an uneventful stealth bracket. Next event should be taking place at the end of March or the start of April. Oh, so Asparagus won the non-stealth? I thought Daiquiri won.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Daiquiri was this
reading
awesome...
this, it looks like he won.
You're right.
Yeah.
Daiquiri was this awesome Sork that I want to be when I grow up as a PvPer.
Nice.
So Asparagus won the non-stealth. Slim Shady was mostly uneventful stealth bracket. Slim Shady, I think, was a stealth operative and just tore it up. Next event should be taking place at the end of March or start of April, and we'll be back on the Red Eclipse. And then he's got a link out there on his various sites to what the brackets look like. So Red Eclipse around end of March, April timeframe. Check it out. The Ultimate Red Star Championship number 6. It is very cool.
It sounds like something that would be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool to watch. It's very nice to watch on his stream as he live streams it, because he's down on the platform, standing there almost referee style in between, right around the two PvPers. So you get the close-up camera angle, and he's like clicking on their health bars and then doing the voiceover and talking about some of the abilities that you typically only use in 1v1 duels, like what talents and specs that they chose, what they're doing with a particular build and how that's working. So check it out. Other community news, AIE, as I said, we've got that weekend ops team that's now up and running. Check them out. I think there might be an open spot for our Monday night Republic ops team. That Imperial one on Fridays is now mostly just getting started. And always keep an eye out. I think Arv may have an opening now. I think he might have had somebody need to step back for a bit. So the
Right, that would be Wednesday night.
Ops
Yes.
team might need a person. Do you know if he needs a healer or DPS or something? Maybe.
I think DPS.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna guess DPS.
And I know
but I
Arv
could be
is in
wrong
the chat
about
room. He can pipe up and you can check it out in there too. And check out the forums. You can see the details there. To anyone not yet in Alea Iacta Est, remember our guild is always looking for new members on Jedi Covenant. Our parent community, Alea Iacta Est, is one of those very large, family-friendly gaming communities. We had a lot of people trying out Black Desert Online this past week, and we are in all the major MMOs, which is pretty fun. You can certainly find our solid Star Wars The Old Republic guild on both the Republic and Imperial sides on Jedi Covenant, and our guild info is on aie-guild.org for the whole guild. You can catch officers on Jedi Covenant whenever we happen to be in there, which is most evenings, sometimes during the day as well, with a /cjoin AIELFO for looking for officer. And we will get you connected up and get you invited to the guild, and you can worry about the invite application and all that kind of stuff later on. And
thank you.
Yes, sorry. So, oh, you were gonna.
And thank you to the chat room for showing up on our odd time this week, a day early. I appreciate that. Especially, to miss the Oscars to be with us. Thank you.
And I apologize to Seema. I was gonna have Seema talk about the guild this week.
Yeah,
And it even
that's
says your
fine.
name right next to it, and I just plowed right on through it.
You're on autopilot.
Yes. All right. Well, Seema will talk all about joining AIE next week, so tune in for that.
Oh, excitement.
But now we have another game and test to talk about.
This was but a game. The true test is yet to come.
That's right, Tyrannus. The true test on the PTS is yet to come. I don't know why I picked that drop in. I should have went and recorded some of Lana doing the voiceovers on Odessin. She's sort of the game master of the Odessin Warzone. But we'll talk about that as part of what's on the PTS. But we're going to talk, there's not much else, but I guess let's kick it off with that focus area thing on the PTS. Because you and I both looked at that, didn't you? But you took a look at it, Seema, didn't you?
Yes, I mean, the way it works is on your mini map, there's a button on the bottom of the mini map that just says PvE. And when you click on that, then you can choose to go to a PvP instance, or I assume if you were already on a PvP, if you log in, anyway. So that sets your focus, and you are transported to a new instance.
Yeah.
And if it works, it shows it like it worked about half the time for me. Like it didn't always actually switch instances for me. I'm not sure. I might have been missing something that I should have clicked or not clicked or something. Or maybe it doesn't work in some areas. But when it does work, then you see the loading screen, and then when you zone in, then you have the little PvP thing on your portrait. Some people were asking does this mean you can no longer flag for PvP? And I believe that is going to be what it ends up meaning, because I tried in a PvP instance to flag up and I could not do that.
You tried in
But
PvE instance?
it's the PTR. Yes, I tried it when I was in a PvE instance to just type /PvP like you would if you just wanted to flag up. And nothing happened.
Interesting. I didn't try that. I did go and you can either, if you look on the map, where you look for instance 1 of Voss, instance 2 of Voss, there's now every planet has at least 2 map places. So that's the other place you can transfer. It'll say Voss 1, you can barely see it. It's sort of grayed out here, but Voss 1 just looks normal, and then it's Voss 2 said Voss 2 dash PvP. So you can switch
actually,
map that way too.
When I did it, there was no other instances.
Hmm.
Maybe that was why it had difficulty.
Maybe
But
somebody went there and tried it and had already started up the map, so then I could see it too and I could try to transfer into it. So I was able to transfer that way as one way, but then it's a little bit hard hard to see down here. But as you were saying, that little PvP drop down at the bottom of your mini map will switch you back and forth between your focus too. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit. The one use of this that I see that I'm not unhappy about is there's a bunch of PvP achievements all over the place. Kill 50 people on Voss, kill 50 people in the Raccoon tunnels, blah, blah, blah. Being on a PvE server, never got the real opportunity to go after those in a real way. I wouldn't mind once in a while being able to switch over to a PvP instance and go hunting. Have a little open world clash tete-a-tete, as the case may be. Try out my my 1v1 skills, or more likely 10v1, and I get smashed into the ground. But it might be able to be used for that. The instance of, do I have a whole bunch of friends that were PvP server players that refused to come to Jedi Covenant because it was a PvE server? Not that I know of, but maybe that's a thing, and maybe that will be interesting as part of it. What about you, Seema? Are you going to ever make use of this? Does it seem interesting to you?
I would if we were like doing a guild event and we decided we were going to kill like commanders on Tatooine, and we decided we wanted to just go as a group. And I could like stand in the middle of the group, like with people all around me on all sides, and we were all going to go to the PvP instance.
Yeah.
Like they don't just go, play a trick on me and I'm the only one who clicks it. No, no, no. But I probably won't go exploring because I'm kind of used to the PvE thing. Although one thing I did notice, which is a little bit makes me wonder, is when I was going back and forth and testing, I hit the you cannot change instances anymore now until XYZ time. So that seemed weird to me. It's like I don't understand that limitation, and yeah. So if you change, it seemed like it was all in the same queue. So like if you change instances because you're doing world bosses, you go 1, 2, 3, and PVE instances. Does that mean you can't change your focus now if you wanted to? I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Good question.
we'll know more when it happens, but that was just a first look, and I'm not, I'm like I said, it's a PTR, things will change.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see. We'll see, and we'll see how much it's actually used, and time will tell if this is really a prelude to server merges or something like that, which I think it is. And Eric Musco is just turning my dev tracker into a house of lies.
Well, maybe technically what he said was true, but there's
From a
there's
certain point
something
of
coming
view,
that's
you're saying it's true from a
similar.
certain point of view, aren't
Like it won't be mega servers, it will be like ultra servers
you?
or something.
I see you using the word mega server. This will certainly not be used for mega servers. Just wanted to say
Yes.
that.
Right.
See, Luke,
Exactly.
what I said was true from a certain point of view. Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're such a jerk. Yeah, so that's that. I don't think we need to say anything more on that. One other thing, though, that we didn't bother to do anything with because it's shut off is the strongholds. Why do you think strongholds are shut off, Seema? Because they're messing around with the 4 to 5 limit, or because maybe they're going to surprise us with a new stronghold in 4.3 and they didn't want
Oh
to give
my
it away
gosh.
on
All
the
I thought
PTS.
all I thought was that they got the PvP stuff ready and they didn't bother with getting anything else ready because that was their big focus, was to make sure that they got that tested. That's what I thought. But now I think they're going to surprise us with a new stronghold. Thanks for the idea, Max.
Well, get your hopes up, because that's the best way to stay happy.
Where do you think it will be?
Good question. I mean, it'll either be Zakul or Odessen. It would if that were to happen. But yeah, I doubt they're doing it. I think they would have gotten too excited about it and showed it off already. But maybe they're doing some preliminary testing of it, and that's it's already in the code, so they wanted to shut off strongholds because they're going to do it in the future, or they're just playing with it or doing some design, or maybe it has nothing to do with that, but that would be fun to think about regardless.
I think that the whole 5 stronghold things, they probably just hadn't done enough testing on it to be able to get value from having players test it.
Probably.
So they just didn't.
Probably. I don't, it doesn't seem to me like there would be much that they would need to test besides make the limit 5, and because it was a capacity thing. They only made it 4 because they were worried that 5 would sort of overload them a little bit.
But remember, I mean, keep in mind that the last patch was all crafting changes and it broke ops.
True. Yes, and we still have had been running into that problem. Where did we run into it? It was the worst in EV. In Dread Fortress, when people kept getting screwed up by those hands slapping down, because it looks like they're smacking one way and they're not. So the melee kept trying to go to where the back of them was supposed to be, and it wasn't there, and they kept getting killed. But anyway, yes, that's a good point. Testing is warranted, but then please turn it on soon so we can test it. And
well, my point there was more that things are connected in ways that we don't understand since we don't see the
yes,
guts.
Yes, this is true. I don't always test, but when I do, it's in production.
Yes.
I did do quite a bit of PvP this weekend on the PTS. I did both at least 2 or 3 rounds of the 4v4 in the new Rishi Arena. This is the concept art for the Rishi Arena that they showed, and that's exactly what it looks like when you get in there too. It's pretty basic. It's pretty straightforward. Didn't seem all that visually. It looks pretty cool. So it's nice to have another place to go do 4v4. If you're into 4v4, ranked is all 4v4. So having a different place to go play, that's pretty cool. It's not all that interesting from a map mechanics point of view. There's not like teleport points or really weird places where you can go and hide or corridors or anything like that. It's just a couple ramps. It's upper area. You can walk underneath the bridges, spawn points up on the ledges on either side, and that's it. Oh, look, there's Garada the Hutt hanging out, looking over the arena up on the left. A lot of people did not want to get in there and play in the 4v4 because while the art of the map looks pretty cool, it's still just 4v4, and it was boring from that perspective. There was either a bug or a mechanic, and people are going back and forth on whether it was a bug or a mechanic for testing, in that after you died, so when you die in a round, you're supposed to be dead till the end of the round, and then the round ends, and there's best 2 out of 3 rounds, so you can end after 2. But what was happening in the Rishi Arena is as soon as you died, you could res back at the little spawn point and jump back in and keep playing, which would make the rounds sort of last forever.
Forever.
They still don't last completely forever because if a round lasts too long, you get basically a pool of acid that seeps in from the sides of the arena and slowly gets closer and closer to the center to force people to either kill each other or die to the acid. 2 things I noticed with that, though, or maybe not 2 things, just one thing in particular. I Sork bubbled at the very end when the acid got to the middle on one of those because we were playing to the end as it was anyway. We were just goofing around, walking around in the war zone. I Sork bubbled and the acid still killed me, which is not how it currently works in production, and people don't like that. So I think that's how it should work. It should kill a Sork that's bubbled, because otherwise, you could just
It's a mechanic. It's supposed to end the round.
Right. And you're not supposed to win just because you're a Sork and you have an immunity bubble.
Right.
So that's interesting. I hope that is a change that is a little bit more fair. Otherwise, pretty cool looking. It's fun to walk around in there. I did get stuck at some point because I was jumping on things, of course, jumping up on stacks of boxes. And if you get stuck, you die. So that wasn't fun. So don't jump on the boxes, I guess. Any comments on this 4v4 arena? I don't think you've probably never done the 4v4s, have you? I know you've done some of the other.
I have done 4v4s.
Oh, okay.
But I was terrible at it. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the picture, it definitely looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the opportunities for LOS look hair-raising.
You always need LOS in.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's actually not as much as you would think. There's not as much line of sight blocking as I would want as a Sork, actually. I'm all about the hiding around corner, sticking my head out, dropping in a couple dots, do a little dot spread, and then going back and hiding. And
I guess what I think too is line of sighting up and down is the worst for me, because it mucks with your camera. When you're in a spot with a low ceiling, it's really hard to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of standing behind a pillar and your camera is fine behind you or at any angle, but when the camera's up against a wall or a ceiling, it's hard to see for me.
Yes, that would be a problem. Because, like, say you're a healer, as long as you jump down, you mostly have line of sight to anyone that's down below. So if the people you need to heal are down, you could just jump down anywhere and then just heal them on your raid frame. You'd be okay. But that's it on the 4v4. So let's talk about the meat, the main event, which is the Odessan Warzone. Did you actually get in, or you saw it on some of the streams though, at least though, didn't you, Seema?
Yeah, I watched it on streams, but I did not actually try it myself.
They
Oh.
they put it up. They put up the PTS, and the war zones were live. You could go in there and you could queue in, and you were queuing in and you were able to get either one. They were actually popping. They were alternating them, which meant you had a chance to get in either one, but they were actually alternating. They threw it out there and let people play it, and then they threw out a dev post that gave people a little more detail. And this gets to what some of the criticism of the Odessan Warzone is so far. So let's talk about the mechanics. The criticism is basically that it's quite complicated. And it might be a little too complicated right now for new people trying to get into it and check it out. The Warzone itself, I liked it. It looks pretty cool. It's based on your Odessan sort of this Odessan area. If we're here on Odessan on the stream right now. But if you're just listening, if you imagine when you zone into Odessan, you've got the outside area, then you can go back by the cantina, then you can go into either the two sides where you've got your sort of stronghold. If you imagined all of Odessan being a map, that's pretty much the map of what the Odessan Warzone looks like too. And it divides it up into basically 5 specific areas: the outside area, the cantina in the middle, a back area, and an area on each of the sides. And that's where the cap locations, the fight locations, are centered around, is those 5 points. So if you think of it as like a plus, it's one in the middle, and then the four ordinal directions. This is a King of the Hill style war zone, which means 1, 2, or 3 of those 5 points that I just mentioned are going to become active each round as you're sort of playing the war zone. And your team needs to go and stand in that area and kick out all of the other members of the rest of the team to cap that area. And then as long as you're holding it, as long as any one person of your team is holding it, you're gathering points. And it's 1 second gets 1 point. So that's pretty much the mechanic. It's the first team to get to 600 points then wins the war zone. It's pretty cool looking. As I said, it looks all like Odessan. Here's a picture. I recorded my time in there, but then did not cut my pictures out of the stream. So this is of somebody that posted it on the internet, and then I've got one of Snave's stream in here too. So I've only got a couple screenshots. You don't need to worry about looking at it on the video. But it's got the outside spawn point. You run in there, but it does look pretty cool. There's also the usual power-ups that you would expect around the map for speed and healing, and then there's a new kind of power-up as well. So there's 4 points on the map where there's a it's some, what do they call it? Battle mod. So Lana will say, battle mods have spawned. And then you need to go and try to get one of those battle mods. Those battle mods are another point of complication. Once you run over one of those battle mod points, then you basically carry a battle mod with you. And there's a big beam of light that's coming out of you as if you're holding the hut ball. There's 4 different colors. It's random when you grab it. You're either getting blue, red, green, or orange, or something like that. Each one of those then gives you a little small bar in the middle of your screen, that one of your dynamic action bars, and that dynamic action bar gives you an ability. So you can sort of see it here. This is Snave grabbing the orange one. You can either pass it off to one of your teammates, or you can use the ability. There's 4 different abilities, and you have to either hover over or know what the colors mean, which gets pretty complicated. One of them makes you get double points for if you walk into a node that you hold and you click it, then you get double points. One of them makes the timer tick twice as fast. Another one of them, you can walk into one of the enemy's points that they hold and click it, and it kills that point. And another one, you can walk into a point that's not even part of this round and spin it up and make it part of the round. It's complicated. Nobody knows what they do. Nobody's using them correctly. You maybe get 1 out of 10 times does somebody bother to use them correctly. It's a little bit complicated as far as that goes too. So of the things I've said so far, Seema, King of the Hill, control those control points, maybe use these battle mods, score 600. How is that sounding so far? I mean, is that you
I'm
getting a
just
sense of it at
hearing
least?
the white rabbit and someone saying, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small.
It's down the rabbit hole. This is getting
Well,
getting crazy.
I it does seem complicated. Like Hutball to me seems not the Hutball of the game is complicated, but the fact that you have to know that there's a ball that you would carry and that there's an ability that then you have to put on your bar so that you can throw it to somebody else, and you have to know where to take it if you have it or who to throw it to. That seems complicated enough to me.
And that in comparison is quite simple.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Because you get the ball, and as long as you can figure out that this is what it looks like when I have the ball, and this is what it, the harder thing, which is this is how I pass the ball. As soon as you get that done, hot ball is all about my end zone, their end zone. Get the ball and get it into their end zone. Cool. Score a point. Get 6 points. Win. And if you die, you just go back and you start it again. If you score, you just start it again. You just keep doing that. Get the ball, put it in the end zone. Get the ball, put it in the end zone.
So it seems complicated to me, but I have faith in the PvP community that once they have exposure to it and kind of absorb it, that it will be, that it won't be too hard. Not like it's too complex for them to figure out or anything. My point of view is from a complete PvP noob.
Well, yes. So the problem is there will be a segment of the people playing it that do know what they're doing. And I think you're right. I think people will figure it out. In fact, I figured it out relatively quickly, and I feel like I got it. It's not confusing. But there'll be people that it will be much more difficult for them to figure out if they don't go in there very often. It's also easy to get turned around. This is a little map that Zamzam created. So Zamzam is a blogger that does a lot of blogging. She's on Twitter and has done some of the podcasting for Tor Community and other places. So she posted this in the official forums, which is sort of nice. You can look it up on the official forums under her forum account. This sort of like a better view of the overview of the map. This top one is the outside area. The rest of it's all inside. And it's not straight paths. It's not like it's all open and you can just run from side to side. It's all windy, twisty passages, and there's some ramps that you can run up above, or you have to run up above to get into the other area, or you're running down and you got to loop all the way around. It's easy to get turned around and not know where you need to go. And the fact that between each of the rounds, 1, 2, or 3 of these 5 points light up and it's random each time makes things complicated. The other problem is that the spawn points, it seems to me that you all start at one spawn point and the other team starts at another, and I think it's mostly these 2 top ones. So one problem you get is if the 2 first random points that start up are one on the enemy team side and one in the middle, well, the enemy team is going to go get their one on their side right away and start scoring a bunch of points. And then the rest of them are going to go to the middle, and your team's not going to get any. So you sort of get screwed out of the first round of points pretty easily. So that's a problem sort of with this random spawning of these points. But then as it resets, and you go through maybe 4 rounds, 5 rounds in a match, as it resets, you might be sort of standing here at the bottom, at the southmost point, and another 2 or 3 light up. It's easy to get lost and not know exactly where you're supposed to go and get turned around and not figure it out. So I think that's part of the complication. Besides that, we can talk about a couple of the types of problems people were seeing, maybe with the gameplay a little bit, that they could potentially tweak, and some of the challenges. It only takes 3 seconds to cap one of these spawn points. So if the first team there, if they're there 3 seconds ahead of the other team, they get it. And then the other team has to get all of the other team out of the box or dead and then cap for 3 seconds, and then they get it back. It's very difficult to take back a spawn point from a tank healer combo. You can be pounding on a tank, and you get like a Sage tank and a guardian tank and a Sage tank. Seema's a Sage tank. When all those ads flow in that direction. It's very difficult to take it back from a tank healer combo, for one. For two, knockbacks are way overpowered in this map. You can get Guardians and Juggernauts have that really big knockback that knocks you down. You get knocked back like 30 meters and you fall down. If you've got two guys standing in spawn point, a Juggernaut comes running in and knocks you guys back before you can even get up and run back into the square to beat that 3-second timer. Those 3 seconds will be up and he'll cap it. And so that's not very fair. There's tricks, some classes have some ways to combat against that, but a lot of people are sort of complaining about either the speed that it takes or the size of the square. They're not that big. I think I had the one picture here of how big it is. They're not all that big. It's easy to really get knocked out of them. That's making some people frustrated at some of those points. What else? It was also a little bit buggy, and that's certainly warranted to raise those issues. There'd be points where it seems like it should have capped and it didn't, or our team was all standing there and none of the other team was around and it capped for the other team. Those were rare, but it was happening often enough that's obviously they got to fix some of those bugs. And then the other thing that some people were complaining about is stealth players do seem to be handicapped to some degree. You can't carry one of those battle mods while you're stealthed, and you can't hold a spawn point while you're stealthed, and you can't cap a spawn point while you're stealthed. So they basically have to go in and unstealth, which is their core ability to be able to participate in the game, which is frustrating.
Yes.
Otherwise, I've heard people say on both sides, because all the fighting is sort of concentrated on each of these spawn points, some people say, oh, well, that's an advantage for melee because they just get to stand there and you have to be in melee range of them the whole time. You can't run away. That's somewhat true. But then I've heard people on the other side say, or like dot spreading of Sorks and ranged, raining down AoEs. That's not very fair because everybody has to be grouped up right there. So that, I think, balances out to some degree. I think that can be worked out. That'll just be playing smart and getting in there and doing what you need to do. The other sort of mechanics of, is it a little too complicated with one, 2, or 3 spawn points randomly popping up? Might they be spawning in a place that's beneficial to the other team? And are the spawn points too small right now, or the cap times too quick? That's the kind of feedback that I hope BioWare is taking a look at and might tweak to make this a little bit more fair and maybe a little bit easier to manage. One of the key pieces of feedback that I saw Snave and I think Zamzam as well talk about was that size of either the size of the spawn point node or the cap time. And then another thing that I thought of that would potentially make things easier is maybe 5 is too many. Maybe they eliminate those 2 side wings spawn points and just keep it to the 3 in the middle, and then make it 1, 2, or all 3 line up. Then it's always those 3 in the middle. It's always equidistant from the spawn points, pretty much. And then you're always, it's less place for people to sort of get lost and not know where they're supposed to go. So that was sort of a side. It would sort of ruin the map because they have this nice wide map and I don't know what they would do with those 2 side wings at that point, but it would make it a little easier to deal with from that perspective if it was just the 3 instead of the 5. Any other questions on that, Seema, that from what you were seeing and what your sort of view was on it, and what's your sort of take on it? I know you don't PvP too much, but you will soon. So,
well, I mean, at the point that a lot of people were making was that since we do have a lot of new players, so they'll be new to PvP and new to war zones, new completely, that this might be not the first one you want to jump into. But I have a question for you. So, like when you queue for PvP, can you pick your war zone, or do you just queue and get whatever they put you in?
You get whenever they put you in. So right now, the
Okay.
only things they're putting you in on the PTS because it's special are the 2 new ones. But
Right, right.
what this will look like in production will be, it will just be another map type that comes up randomly. In which
Mhm.
case, it'll only come up 1 out of 6 times on average.
Right,
So
right. I was just thinking that, maybe some advice for new PvPers might be to try other maps first, but I guess that's not a possibility.
no, it'll just be, you just got to go in there. I would recommend watching people play it, like watch one of the streams or the videos and read the post that they put on the dev tracker. It does explain a lot. You get a lot of people were saying, "Well, how do you cap? How long does it take? I don't get, how long it's supposed to take." Now that they've got some notes up, that clarifies things quite a bit as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess I feel positive that they have it on the PTS and they are getting feedback on it. And I know from personal experience that when you create something and you just think it's the bee's knees, and then someone else gets their hands on it, and they're like, well, why doesn't it have such and so? And you go, oh, yeah, I should have thought of that.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. So that about sums it up. I still like it. I had fun playing it. I would like it in the rotation because it is something new. I'll play it when it comes up. I wouldn't leave rage quit that war zone because I queued into it. So I'm fine with it. Hopefully they do tweak it to make it a little easier, a little more coordinated. I'll certainly be interested to play it with more people on Mumble in a coordinated way. I did not. I was just solo queuing by myself for a couple hours this weekend. It would be interesting to see like a couple teams that are all coordinated non-vent and how that works. Also, just another shout out, thanks to Snave, who was streaming it before I was able to finish patching my PTS download, so I got to see it go on a little bit. So thanks for that, and thanks for Zamzam for both healing me while I was playing on Saturday, and for that nice little map that she posted. And thanks to everybody that's posting feedback. Keep that up so BioWare knows what they can potentially work on and what people are having problems with. And with that, our EPC 132 droid is ready to head out in the escape pod. Thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, iTunes, YouTube, or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. And please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And follow us on YouTube and check out our thread on Reddit and the forums. You can always find us on Jedi Covenant for a guild invite as well, /cjoin AIELFO, and we will get you invited. And we will talk to you soon.
later, everyone.